This is bad, guys. Russians used a secret underground passage to emerge right behind Ukrainians and ambush them. Besides that, Zelensky is facing challenging issues as there's not that many soldier-eligible people left in Ukraine, and 650,000 of them reportedly left the country. And to make things even worse, Russia might potentially attack NATO in the next 6 years. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. So, today, Russians came up with truly ridiculous stuff. Previously, they were never acknowledging that there are Putin doubles, triples, quadruples, fafruples, sextruples, octupluples, until recently, because they kinda said that Budanov, the head of defense intelligence of Ukraine, he also have 5 body doubles. Some of them are from Romania, some from Bulgaria, a couple are from Ukraine, one of them maybe is even from Russia. And so they will be hunting down Putin's doubles. Yes, that's right. Budanov's doubles will be hunting Putin's doubles, according to Russian propaganda. And the main goal here, according to the Russian propaganda, or at least this is what they think, if they can do it, is to intercept and decipher messages that Budanov A sends to Budanov B, so that Putin A can sleep in peace whenever Putin B is presenting or doing a meeting. I mean, yeah, it's just confusing with, maybe it is even Budanov, but I mean, that's ridiculous Russian propaganda. Why we are even still talking about it? But speaking about deciphering these secret messages, I recently saw a movie called The Imitation Game, and yeah, I know, it came out a long time ago, but I mean, it basically tells you a story of Alan Turing, who came up with arguably the very first computer, which was used to decipher the Nazi machine called Enigma, which was used to send these encrypted messages. It was considered to be practically impossible to crack this machine, and that is why only the highest leadership of the Nazi Germany used it. It was that secret. But nevertheless, Alan Turing, along with his team, was still able to crack the code, and but I better not even spoil you the entire movie. It is a really good one. So if you do not have any suggestions what to watch over the weekend, here you go. The Imitation Game, it should be available on Netflix. But unfortunately, it might not be available in some countries, such as, for example, I'm in Canada, and as you can see, it's not here. So I had to switch my virtual location using Atlas VPN, for example, to Miami, Florida, and it is done as easily as just switching this button. Then I just refresh the page on Netflix, and voila, The Imitation Game is immediately available for me, and I can start watching it right away. And it is not just this movie, there are hundreds or even thousands other movies and TV shows across multiple platforms such as Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime or even YouTube TV, which are locked to you due to geolocation restrictions. But don't worry, Atlas VPN got you covered here as well. And besides virtually placing your device in a different country, Atlas VPN also encrypts your personal data and adds an extra layer of security to protect you from malicious software trackers and obviously hackers. I've been personally using Atlas VPN for almost the entire year, and every single time I start my computer, it is just running in the background. I don't need to do anything, and it does not affect my day-to-day work. And with just one subscription, you will be able to launch Atlas VPN across multiple devices. And speaking about the subscription, right now Atlas VPN is running the last days of its Black Friday promotion, so for only $1.70 per month, you can start using Atlas VPN right away. Besides that, they give you 6 entire months in addition to your subscription, and there is also a 30 days money-back guarantee. And in order for you to activate this limited time offer, please go ahead and use my link down below, get.atlasvpn.com/Russian dude. Guys, please hurry up while this promotion still lasts, and just once again, the link is get.atlasvpn.com/Russian dude. Thank you so much, Atlas VPN, for sponsoring this video. Now back to the program. And so yes, now let's talk about possibility of Russia attacking NATO in the next 6 years, and also significant difficulties that Zelensky is facing. And then we'll talk about update from the south and the east of Ukraine, where Russians were able to use secret underground passage and approach Ukrainians from behind. And first of all, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, they potentially think that Ukraine might need to do peace talks with Russia, because slowly, all this once again is according to them, because slowly this war is turning in favor of Putin. It's been already for so long the support of Ukraine is being slowly exhausted, and just soldiers themselves are not as fighting as effectively as they used to. Besides that, Russia obviously and unfortunately has much more resources, both in terms of finances, money, soldiers and military equipment. That is why Russia will be able to last a little longer than Ukraine, at least on its own. And for this reason, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania is urging the leadership of Ukraine to at least start thinking about the possibility of peace talks. But the main danger here is that Russia, especially Putin, will use this time to resupply themselves, bring even more reinforcements and prepare for potential future aggression. In addition to that, Putin will feel pretty much that he had absolutely no consequences for invading Ukraine. And as a result of all this, according to the German military experts, Russia, in the worst case scenario, might assemble that much force that in the next 6 years it might crush Ukraine and then even engage in war with some NATO members. And to say the least, Zelensky right now is facing very challenging issues. And the most important ones are the ones regarding mobilization, demobilization, territorial defense. That is why recently he had a meeting with the highest representatives of Ukrainian authorities and military representatives to try and solve these problems at least one by one in order of priority. And just one of the things we heard from this meeting, according to Alexei Danilov, the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, is that Ukrainians, unlike Russians, as soon as the contracts of those soldiers in Ukraine will expire, they will not be forced to continue fighting in Ukraine. Of course, Ukrainians will be more than happy to resign these contracts because they desperately need soldiers, but once again, nobody will be forced. And as a result of all this, one of the main problems that Ukraine is facing right now, in addition to not having the appropriate amount of military vehicles, equipment, and just in general military support, is that Ukraine is getting extremely low on soldiers. Contracts expire, they will not be holding them against their own will fighting along the front lines, and also at least 650,000 Ukrainian men have left the country since the war started. However, even though 650,000 is obviously a great number, it was not specified how many of these men are the fathers of multiple children, families, how many of them are disabled or in any other way ineligible to be summoned into the military. But in one way or another, once again, unfortunately, since Putin was not able to win this war extremely quickly as he wanted in the beginning, now he is using the tactics of extremely long war, hoping that the support for Ukraine will slow down and then stop completely. And so yes, now let's briefly talk about the situation in the south of Ukraine, where it looks like that Russians, along with Chinese, they want to build an underground tunnel next to Crimean Bridge, and then we'll switch our attention to the east. But first of all, guys, just one quick last thing about statistics. I recently went to my YouTube analytics and I saw that 49.9% of you guys are not subscribed to my channel. This is exactly the same percentage as 2 weeks ago, so the situation is, to say the least, unacceptable. And yes, I am looking at you, Nathan, Felix, Adam, John, and Martin. So let's now turn the statistics in our favor, shall we? And all you simply need to do is to like this video and subscribe to my channel. That's pretty much it. The weekend is here, you can also follow me on Instagram, and I will follow some of you back. The link is down below. Now back to the south of Ukraine. So, with Ukrainians establishing pretty confident bridgeheads across Dnipro River, the warfare started to go further away from the front lines, with both countries using more and more its artillery systems and long-range missiles. And, for example, Ukrainians recently, according to this report by the British intelligence, they were able to destroy a relatively big convoy of Russians and eliminated at least 70 soldiers located in Avdiivka. Besides that, as we go to Crimea, Ukrainians reportedly were also able to destroy a military unit of Russians, along with their air defense system and radar located in Jankoi. And just speaking in general about Crimea, according to the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, who are referring to the Ukrainian special services, Russians along with Ukrainians are planning to build an underground, or at this point underwater, tunnel next to Crimean Bridge, relatively in the near future. And obviously the main reason for them to do it is to make the passage between the peninsula and the territory of Russia more safe, most importantly for the military vehicles of the Russian army. Because as you most likely remember, the Crimean Bridge was attacked several times in the past, despite Russians saying that there is no way this bridge is extremely well protected, nothing like this will ever happen again. And so yes, now finally, let's talk about the situation in the east of Ukraine, where Russians apparently found some underground secret passages and approached Ukrainians from behind. But first of all, we have to make a stop in the capital of Russia, Moscow, where apparently this last night yet another, looks like electrical power station, has been attacked. Russians never acknowledged who was behind this attack or whether this were Ukrainian drones or any of this has to do with Ukrainians. But as always, they just said it was just a spontaneous self-ignition. And just in general, speaking about the attacks, in the last 24 hours, at the moment of recording this video, Russians launched at least 3 Shahid drones, and Ukraine was able to intercept all of them. So there was no reported major attacks against the territory of Ukraine. Next, we refer to this map in order to see the changes in territorial control, and as you can see, Ukrainians were able to recapture some land in between Ivanyivka and Yahidne, located in the Kupiansk front line. As we go a little bit to the south, right here is the video from the Svatovo front line, which shows the work of a Ukrainian assault group, which in less than a minute was able to approach the front line in the armored personnel carrier, disembark and start engaging Russians in combat activities. This is how fast these things happen. And then in Bakhmut we can see that Ukrainians still pretty successfully are using Swedish combat vehicles CV-90-40C, fighting and resisting, repelling the attacks of Russians. Then also reportedly from the same location is another video of Ukrainians defending against Russian attacks, and unfortunately the guy who is filming gets injured, but he continues to fight against the Russian aggressors. And guys, I do have to apologize once again, because this is as much as I can show on YouTube of uncensored footage. But if you want to see fully uncensored episodes of the Russian Dude and also full versions of these videos, please go ahead and check them on my Patreon, the link is down below. As we go down along the eastern front line, right here is yet another video from Donetsk region, which shows a total annihilation of the Russian self-propelled artillery system called Akatsiya. And then, according to Ukrainians fighting in Avdiivka frontline, they reportedly were able to destroy a Russian tank along with their assault group in Budanov. And ultimately, unfortunately, right here is the video of Russians using new tactics. Basically, what they did is reportedly they dug a tunnel of approximately 170 meters. They put a lot of explosives at the end of it to confuse Ukrainians, and the very next day they took the position of Ukrainians by surprise in this sneaky assault. Ukrainians were unfortunately very confused. They did not expect it, because they got used to Russians simply running across open fields. That's why Russians were successful in capturing this territory away from Ukrainians. And I mean, yes, luckily, Russians are not switching their military tactics in the entire Ukraine. Sometimes this is just the initiative of maybe just one unit, one battalion or one brigade, but it is not yet the same for the entire Russian military in Ukraine. So most likely and hopefully this is just a one-time thing, but still, nevertheless, it does show that even Russian military is able to somehow learn from its mistakes, adapt its tactics and improve. Which possesses even more danger to the Ukrainian defenders, especially because the winter is coming. The support from the West is not as much as before, and just in general there is a total exhaustion from the combat activities. That is why, according to Anna Malyar, she mentions that a lot of Ukrainian formations across pretty much the entire front line, all the way from the east to the south, they're slowly but surely switching to a defense. So let's see, this winter most likely will be extremely decisive either for Ukrainians or for Russians, and it does not even have to involve a lot of combat activities and liberations. Because first of all, a lot of things over this winter will be decided behind the political negotiations. And as soon as it starts to get warmer, the war might not be the same as before. So once again, if you don't want to miss any of these potentially crucial updates, just please consider subscribing to my channel. It only takes one click. Thank you so much Atlas VPN once again for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much patrons for your support, and see you on Tuesday.